Everyone, and welcome to the June 9th regular council meeting of the Village of Lytton. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off your videos, mute your microphones to allow council to begin the proceedings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and broadcasted on the Village of Lytton YouTube channel. If you wish to view this meeting or access a video recording of a past meeting, you can visit the Village YouTube channel and watch it there. Thank you, Your Worship. You may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. I call this regular council meeting of June the 9th to order at 7 p.m. To begin, we want to recognize that we're holding this meeting in the Village of Lytton, which is located on the unceded traditional and ancestral lands of the Intlekatlan people. All right, we do need a motion to adopt the agenda for tonight.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle, seconded Councillor Lightfoot. All those in favor? Carried. And the adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting of May the 26th.
I will so make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor McCann, seconded by
I'll second.
Michelle. Were there any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Carried. We're going to move right down because I don't believe we have any business arising from the minutes. So we're going to move right down to delegations. And today we have Sergeant Fillion here with the RCMP, who is going to be giving us an update, sharing with us. And so I'm going to turn it over to you. And thank you for coming. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have a brief overview of policing for Lytton for 2025. Including our staffing levels, our infrastructure, challenges, calls for service, and the priorities that we've identified moving forward. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have at the end. So I'm going to start with human resources. Lytton has returned back to full complement of 6 police officers. We spent the majority of 2025 with 4. And we had a few months where we had 5 of the 6. For good news, our new corporal has been named, and she will be here mid-July. And her name is Carolyn Braun. She used to work Lillooet, so she's kind of familiar with the area. Infrastructure, we have a few concerns and things that I need to kind of overcome. So we lost a few houses in the Lytton fire, and we're still working at building, buying, renting, leasing, whatever we can. So we have 4 houses. We've leased 1. So we'll be looking for 1 more so that we can get up to our 6 staff. So if there's anything out there, then please let me know. I finally got approval to get our old detachment site capped and cleaned and maintained. That was quite the ordeal. Sorry that it's taking so long. But that's something that I've been working at through the winter here. So and finally getting some headway now. For infrastructure at our current location, I'm looking for extra storage. We don't have enough storage right now. With future considerations of the building or detachment, there's no timeline in sight for that. I still have ongoing communications with my upper management. And maybe one of our first moves is when our lease is up where we're at, maybe we can move back to our old law anyhow. We'll have to look at the bylaws and see what minimum requirements are for us to be there. So that's kind of what I'm in the works now. Calls for service last year. So I got here in 2021, right before the fire. So I actually went back through all our files, and Lytton gets average 800 to 1,000 files a year pre-fire. Last year we did 10,076 files. So or sorry, not 10,000, 1,000. There is no way we could do 10,000 files here. We don't have enough people. So we got into 1,000 files last year, which
Wow.
is, was unexpected, and it was a very busy year for us. So I'm going to break those down for you. Criminal code investigations, the majority of the files were uttering threats and assaults, so persons crimes. And then we had the other of note were property crimes, break and enter, theft, mischief, and we actually had a fair amount of frauds last year. So, so the total criminal code investigations that we had last year were 202 files. That sounds like a lot. I'll explain that after. So 8 of those files were actually in the village of Lytton. How we track our files is if there's two people get in a fight, it might not be criminal, but it gets phoned in as assault, which is criminal. So then we'll start the assault investigation. If it's a full fight, it still gets tracked as a criminal code. It turns into not. So when we're looking at that, that is a lot of files, 202. So, but that's not necessarily accurate in the end. Out of those 202 files, we forwarded 30 reports to Crown Counsel for recommending charges. Just some other statistics on that 202 is lots of times we'll go to a file where there's an actual criminal offense, but the complainant wants it reported, they don't want it. So there's lots of, like I said, first of all, where it doesn't meet the criminal element in terms of the consensual fight idea, or the complainant doesn't want to proceed into court because it's a whole nother ballpark going to court. So that's kind of where we're at with our 30 that we submitted. And I say approximately 30 because some of them are still under investigation and haven't been forwarded to Crown. So I'd say we did about 30 reports last year for criminal. Our biggest calls for service are traffic, highways, and in the actual village of Lytton. We did 323 files last year for traffic related, 34 of them being within the boundaries of Lytton village. So those calls for service, they include anything from rocks on the highway, erratic drivers, people unsafe passing, impaired driving. So we get lots of those, and they're generally not locals. They're people passing through. However, we did have 34 of them in town. For mental health files, we had 23 for the year, and that's across the whole detachment area. Those ones are a little more personal, so I didn't break them down to location. Provincial investigations. This includes anything under the Fire Act, Liquor Control Act, Coroner's Act, missing persons. We had 49 of those within the detachment area. And the non-emergency calls, which include check well-being, which might be a stranded motorist, might be someone walking down the road, abandoned vehicles. We get a lot of suspicious circumstance files where there's a car parked in the village, nobody knows who it is, and so they'll be like, that guy looks sketchy, so we'll go say hi to them. So we had 294 of those last year. Within the village, we had 25. And for all of you guys that had your calculator out, the numbers I gave you does not equal 1,076. There's a bunch of other types of files that get generated but aren't really police matters. So we'll get a car accident, 4 people report it. It's only one accident. So,
Right.
but we have to create a file
For each one.
Yeah, for every person that phones it in so that they can be tracked. There's other things like that missing persons that we just recently had was an out of detachment. So we're assisting them. We generate a file, but it does, we don't actually get credit for it, even though we put a lot of work into that. For strategic priorities, so every year, the detachment commander has a responsibility of identifying priorities and things that we want to focus on for the upcoming year. And generally, I like to, like, this is my first year doing it. I did it last year as the corporal, but this is the first year as the detachment commander. And we kind of ran out of time. So I picked 3 things, which I'll go over with. But what I'm hoping to start with today is we have more community input for the three or 4 that I'm going to pick next year. I would like some input from all the communities, and just for tonight specifically, you guys. So that's something that I'd like to work towards next year. So what I picked for this year is traffic enforcement and education, because we have so much files. Our members need to be out on the highway or in the village conducting both enforcement and education. The other one I picked, and I think this one's fitting for us for this year, it's accountability and good governance. So the reason I picked that is I know that post-fire, we haven't been available enough to meet and greet with the community, to listen to mayor and council's concerns. So that's kind of why I picked that one this year. And I'm trying to already do my part and be a lot more available, present, and that's going to go for everybody. So if there's events that you guys want to invite us to, like the May Day thing, the cars, please do. And if we're not called away, we'll be participating. So good governance is the second one. And I do want to work on picking our stuff for next year as a group. The other one I have picked this year is crime reduction, and I generally like the crime reduction. Basically, if we have anybody that's been released into the community with conditions, I like to make sure that our members are checking on curfews or whatever. So we're monitoring them. We're also trying to build intelligence. If we have somebody that's coming in the community and they're breaking into all our stuff, then that's part of the crime reduction. I will develop a strategy to deal with them. So I guess for that, the main takeaway is I do want to have a little more community input next year, so that before, and I think those, they have to be in by April 1st-ish. So I'd like to have a little more input prior to that. You guys have any questions for me?
Well, I really appreciate you breaking those down and sharing the information that you've shared. Are there any questions or comments?
I do.
Councillor Lightfoot.
I just have one question. You said once your lease expires, there's a possibility you might go back to the old site. When does your lease expire?
I'm not exactly sure, because we have a internal corporation that's called Real Properties, and they manage that. But I am negotiating with them to get our stuff done. That's who I'm dealing with right now, to get all our yards cleaned up and stuff. So when we do go to sign another lease, then maybe we can have a really good visit of what does this, if that facility will work for what we're going on the next step.
Can I continue?
Sure.
And so the old site after the fire, it was talked about that it wasn't big enough for the current standards of the RCMP, which most of us find somewhat overstated for our small community. So there's that issue. But then the other thing was you had a house on that site. Is there any contemplation of rebuilding a residence? And the ones behind the station, actually, also.
So I'll answer your first part first, which the RCMP is always done, or the federal government. They usually rebuild a model over. Do you recall the old brick building that we changed to houses, that was everywhere, including Spence's Bridge,
Mhm.
Nova Scotia, wherever the RCMP was, that building was there. So their new footprint, doesn't matter how big the force is, they use that footprint. Unless it's a big force, and like a Kelowna or Kamloops, they'll get a bigger building than what we would get. So, but we might, part of what I want to do is get a survey done, and we might be able to fit something onto that lot. I don't know what we're gonna do with the Alonso side of it, the back property. We're gonna cap that, and once we kind of have a plan going forward for detachment, do we need a house? Maybe a house goes there. So that's stuff that I'm working towards. That answer your question?
Yeah, because before there was 3 behind and 1 on the side, right? So 4.
So we split that old detachment into a duplex,
Okay.
which wasn't the nicest building, but it's our space. I doubt that that's gonna happen like that again. And then we've purchased another house on Ringway. So we leased one. So we have 5, and we would lease another one, and then maybe we don't need to pay. It's just gonna,
So it sounds like don't have plans for the lot until you figure out detachment, and then
if we
depending on
can,
what's.
sorry for interrupting, if we can rebuild our attachment on that and there's room for a house, I think that's the smartest way to use our land. If we can't utilize the Alonso portion, then I imagine we'll sell it or turn it over. I'm not sure how that works with the federal government, but.
And it's probably a higher level that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, I get to put my recommendations in, and then they send me out to do all the legwork,
Okay.
but my intention is to reestablish a full complement here and with the proper building and be back on Main Street where we're part of the hub. That's my vision of it, so.
Great.
Councillor McCann, did you have a question?
There was this call, just a few weeks ago. The highway was closed and there was all manner of stuff going on. And even though Facebook may have an accurate report, I doubt it. But I wondered at the time, like, what is your obligation as RCMP to let people know when those kind of big things happen and everybody sees something and nobody really knows what's going on because it's none of their business? But we all wonder what's going on. Like you just keep wondering as Joe citizen, or is there any duty to report any of that kind of stuff, or what?
Not necessarily a duty to report. It's not also a secret.
Yeah.
We don't really have a form where we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
explain some, and there is some privacy issues, obviously. So the first part of your question is who we are going to alert right away is if there's anybody in immediate danger. Like, so that event was pretty big. We had our emergency response team out, which is our SWAT team.
Yeah.
So we had that, and we had a helicopter out. However, where it was, there was no houses or any other people at risk, and then we had the highway closed. So
Yeah,
so, and then we did our thing and moved
open
on.
the highway.
Yeah. So
You had lots of people watching, yeah.
yes, we did. Sometimes Facebook is not always the most accurate.
Good, thank you. Are there any other comments, questions?
I'm excited about potentially having the precinct back in the village. That's
Yeah.
great news.
It's good.
One other thing I forgot, just for where we're at this year, we're at 306 files for the year so far. So
Halfway through the year.
yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that will put us, if we kind of double what we have, that'll put us into the 7. That's kind of what I'm expecting.
Similar to pre-fire. Yeah.
So that's kind of the main takeaway is we're equal with pre-fire and we're not done our rebuild yet. So
Well, thank you for coming and sharing, and we look forward to, and I know it won't be every meeting, but down the road again and more updates, more information.
perfect.
Much appreciated. So you're welcome to stay and
I don't mind staying for a bit. I thought it was gonna be-
participating or whichever, but yeah, well, we're going to carry on. Perfect. All right, shall we move on to item number 8 now, which is staff reports? It's number 7. I apologize, public comment, and I'm going to turn it over to Corporate Officer Storchenko.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we invite members now to provide comments related to tonight's agenda. So if anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function feature on Zoom. You can find that by clicking on React at the bottom of your screen and then select Raise Hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and ask you to unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes to speak, and speakers are asked to state and spell your name, provide your address, and indicate the agenda item number that you're speaking to. So if anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. Seeing no one, I'll call for a second time. So if anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. I'm not seeing anybody online, Your Worship. Is there anyone at Parish Hall that wishes to speak?
No one here this evening.
So that concludes the public comment portion of the meeting. So back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item number 8, staff reports, and we have CIO Monbriquette, and she's brought forth the draft annual report.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Good evening, everyone. This first item on the agenda is just for council's information. We have prepared the draft annual report and are required to make it available to the public for 14 days prior to bringing it forward to council for consideration for approval. So we plan to do that on June the 23rd, the next council meeting. So tonight it's just in front of you for information. And then we will post it publicly following this meeting. We will gather the public comments that we receive and bring them back in 2 weeks' time with the report for approval.
Great, thank you. So we have a motion to put forward to receive this report. Councillor Lightfoot, seconded by Councillor McCann. Are there any comments regarding this from staff, from council? Councillor Toss.
Thanks, Mayor O'Connor. Just so I'm clear, CAO Monbriquette, so now is not the time to mention something that we had seen in there or ask questions? Just to...
You can do that if you'd like, for sure. I mean, I can try to answer any questions you have on it, for sure.
I thought it looked great. It was very well presented and put together. So thank you for that. I just had 2 sort of questions / comments. One was on the village organization chart, like the, I think it was the transition plan one, like the recovery staffing. I felt that maybe the constituents would be at the top, consistent with other communities and bands and whatnot, being that they're our boss. And that's kind of how you see it usually on work charts. So it goes constituents, council, CAO kind of thing. And I don't know if this is maybe a question for the PAC, that just it said in the annual report to make sure that the community hub PAC is to make sure that everyone in the Lytton area feels included in the project. And it mentions in Clutmuck, TNRD, and Village of Lytton. And I'm just wondering who on the PAC committee was from the TNRD or the Village of Lytton.
Who on the, sorry, I just want to repeat that because I can't hear you very well. Who on the PAC?
In the annual report, it talks about the PAC being set up to make sure that everyone has a voice, essentially, including TNRD and the Village of Lytton, I assume residents. Is there representation from the TNRD and the Village of Lytton, or a Village of Lytton community member?
The TNRD had sent a staff person to participate. His name was Joe. I can't remember Joe's last name. Mayor O'Connor, you might.
Joe Kang.
Yeah, thank you. And then from the Village of Lytton, we have the mayor and Councillor McCann.
Okay, so we still, is there an opportunity for community members to get involved still, or taxpayers?
Well, that's not in the current terms of reference, so council could reconsider the terms of reference if they wish to change the membership of the committee.
Okay, so currently the Village of Lytton is represented by Mayor O'Connor and
That's right.
Okay,
that's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments, questions? Councillor McCann?
Diane, CEO Monbriquette, I was going through, I think, the financial officer's message, and there was somewhere, I think, in there where there was a number that looked like millions, and then the word million followed it. And I'm just asking if you could maybe go through that section and see. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
right
could-
here. Chief Financial Officer's message continued in 2025. Investment income and other were 1,729,373 million.
Gotcha.
That seems
Thank you.
like a million to me. I thought, really? I didn't think we sound.
We wish.
Yeah, well, there you go. So that just kind of, I thought we would like to fix that sooner than later.
That's great. Thank you.
Right, any other questions, comments? No? Okay, so let's vote then on the motion before us. All those in favor? That is carried. We move on to 8.2, CFO Monberquette regarding the Sophie.
Thank you again, Mayor O'Connor. And this again is one of the procedural items that comes forward every year to council. This is the statement of financial information required to be prepared and made available under the Financial Information Act, I think it's called. So there's a number of prescribed components of it that we've included in here. Comments about debt servicing and severance agreements, I think, which we have no comments on that. We have a requirement to report remuneration of council and employees who make over $75,000 a year, and then any contractors, suppliers of the village that we pay over $25,000 a year. So those charts are included in the SOFI. So we're looking for approval of it and authorization for the mayor and the chief financial officer to sign the document.
Thank you. So let's put the two-part motion forward. Councillor Lightfoot seconded.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. Are there any comments or questions regarding the Sophie? Councillor Toss.
Thank you. I have a few questions and thank you for putting this together. I'm just not familiar with some of these names under the aggregate payments exceeding 25,000. So I'm hoping for some clarity. I don't know that they've come before council, and if they have, I apologize. But like, for example, I'll start with Scotiabank Visa. Scotiabank Visa.
Yeah, so we have a corporate Visa card that that various purchases are made on during the course of the year, with suppliers won't take any other method of payment. So that's the total of the payments that we made on towards the Visa.
Okay. And then I don't see Derelict Sammy on this anywhere. Is he one of the consultants, one of the companies?
I'm sorry, who was that?
Our engineer, Derelict Sammy. I'm not sure where he is on here. I don't see it. Or
He
I don't
has-
recognize.
He has a limited company. Our contract is with his company.
What's the name of the company?
His company name is Mark II Holdings.
Oh, okay. I Googled that actually. I couldn't find anything on Mark II Holdings. Okay, excellent. And then everything else, I think Brendan Nobes is RCS Consulting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And JRO Consulting.
That's our contract manager, Jim.
Okay, thank you. And AC Eagle Engineering Services.
That's an engineering company that has done a number of different water and sewer design works for us, and then monitoring of the projects as they were built.
Okay, right. Greenfoot Energy Solutions.
Greenfoot Energy Solutions. I don't know off the top of my head what that
Okay,
is.
that's 35,000. Lepco Design Consulting, 35,000.
That's Hanny. Oh, that's Hanny.
Oh, that's Hanny. Okay, great. Great Pacific Consulting Limited, 30 grand.
They did the work on the water intake. That's up at the
Okay.
water treatment plant.
Thank you. And last one, EMCO Corporation.
I'm sorry, which corporation?
EMCO, it's called, EMCO.
They're a supplier of water and sewer parts and materials.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And I don't think anyone else has any other questions, so I have one more.
Does anybody else have any comments, questions? Councillor Toss.
Thank you. I was wondering, in the SOPI, I see expenses are listed, like for each of the employees over 75, for example, or elected officials for that matter. I'm wondering where in this report do the rentals, the 3 rentals that the village pays for our out of town staff. Where does that fall into, and what budget does it show up here in the SOPI?
It shows up if the payments made were over $25,000 a year. They would
Okay,
be
so
listed on the suppliers.
Okay, so it's not considered an expense of the employee. It's a different bucket of, or I guess it's just such a low amount that it doesn't count.
It's not an expense of the employee, it's an expense of the organization. The organization rents the apartments for anybody to stay in, not the specific employees.
And if I'm correct, only over a certain amount is recorded in the SOPI.
To each supplier, yes. If it's over $25,000 worth of payments to
Yeah.
a supplier, then they're listed on the SOPI.
If it's under, they're not listed.
So if it was a rental accommodation that was being paid $3,000 a month, then that would show up on the SOPI because it would then be $36,000 for the year.
If it was paid for the entire year, yes, it would show up there.
So you would have to pay in advance for it to show up there. Oh, because it's a monthly incremental amount, it doesn't show up.
It's calendar year too, January to December.
Yeah, so any supplier that received payments from the Village of Lytton over $25,000 from January 1st to December 31st of 2025 is on that list.
Okay.
If they
So
didn't receive it during that time period, then they won't be on the list.
Okay, that makes sense. So if it was in the 2026 SOPI, when we get it next year, if a homeowner was renting their place and it comes to a total of more than 25,000, they would then be on that list.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And then the last one was airfares. Are those all in here? Like I see some out of town folks with some with no expenses, like in the aggregate payments exceeding 25,000. Like so for someone that's coming from a
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get into individuals and.
I'm not mentioning it. It's really important. I understand, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the airfares, are they in the totals then for some of our out of town aggregate payments exceeding 20, like our contractors?
I'm sorry, are you talking about the suppliers or about the
Well, either one. So I know like in our employees over 75, there's a bunch of
It would be
listed amounts there
expenses.
for expenses. That includes, it doesn't apply to the employees over 75, but it does apply to the aggregate payments exceeding 25 for some employees that use, that might have to take a flight to get here, for example. Is that included in the total?
any expenses paid to them are included in those totals.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Those are all my questions.
Okay, any other questions before we move on? No. Okay, so all in favor of this motion? And that is carried. All right, we move on to 8.2.2, which is regarding the insurance proceeds for museum contents. And CIO Mombriket, if you'd like to speak to it, and then we'll put the motion forward for discussion.
Great. Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. And this is an item that has come forward to me at the request of the Museum Commission. The executive of the Museum Commission have requested that we consider transferring the money that was received by the village in insurance proceeds after the fire for contents of the museum to the museum, and then they will use those funds to, when it comes time, purchase things for the new museum space, like cabinets and shelving and things like that. There were two payments received by the village. One was for artifacts, and that was 100,000, I think it's 959 is the amount. And the other one was approximately 14,000, and that was for the actual contents. Sorry, 12,994. And that was for the actual contents. So for the shelves and the desks and the things, the items like that were lost in the fire. So those two amounts combined, it's been requested that the village consider transferring those funds to the museum, to their bank account.
So we're looking at a motion that is actually two parts. The first one is to transfer the funds, and the second part is to seek an agreement that the money goes toward the display cases, the contents of the space that will be the museum space.
And I just thought it was important to be clear that, you know, that was the money we were going to use for that. We don't have any other money to outfit the museum. So if we transfer this money over, that would be the intention. It would go, the responsibility would go with the money.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can I have somebody move this recommended motion? Councillor McCann, seconded. Councillor Lightfoot. Are there any thoughts, comments regarding this? Councillor McCann.
So I understand that the museum committee has asked for this so that they can take the money and earn interest on that money while they wait for things to set up the way they want things to set up. Is that money not already collecting interest?
That money is collecting interest. The way that we have the interest allocated, it's not attached to these individual amounts. You know, we could change and do it that way. We could do that. There probably would be an advantage to leaving all of the money together, just in terms of the interest rate that could be achieved. But it, yeah, so that we could do that.
I see. I understand the museum's thinking. I was just trying to clarify their thinking, and that now that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that way they get the money and they can see that for themselves.
Are there any other comments or questions regarding this? Councillor Lightfoot.
I just think the museum group is working hard to reconstruct some of the displays that they've lost, and that this gives them the ability to pick up items as they come available. It's not something they might order out of a magazine so much as just see it, you know, on a site or something. So give them flexibility to pick up what they need.
Okay, other comments? Yeah, call the question. All those in favor? Carried. And now we move on to item number 8.3.1, Director of Development. We have Carolyn with us here today. And this is regarding the services activity report.
This is the monthly activity report that I prepare for your consideration. So just a really quick summary, there's clearly increased permits and issuance, so that's exciting. And I know from just getting quite a few residential inquiries, specific more to modular. The showcase should be out this week that we did do, but I wanted to just clarify a few points on modular construction. So we're doing an FAQ. So people, because we do get a lot of inquiries, so now we can hand that on and you know, the rules per se, or the requirements. You had the update from the OCP last meeting, and since that time, we're working on the school outreach, which we should do next week, I hope. So that's exciting, and we have some fun activities, and as well, the young adult survey will also follow that. We're just working through that right now. Economic development, the RFP has been posted, and we did extend the deadline to the 19th. I sort of forgot, I don't know why, but it was the Planning Institute conference last week, which a few of those firms would have been there. They didn't they didn't find me though, that was a good thing. Pocket Park, it's going to be underway this week. I did mention that we did not get the grant on this stream for the washroom because we need to finish that. But there is another intake at the end of July that it will roll to. Addressing, you had an update at the committee of the whole. Essential housing, the contract has been signed with Lane 1 and the other one's just waiting. With South Pier, I am actually going down to Lane 1 tomorrow to see their construction. So that's exciting. And we're just working on, you'll see the notices for the road closure shortly on that. And obviously zoning has been approved. Yeah, and the village office is proceeding. So that's exciting too. And the Pacific Can, we're just working on the final requirements with Brandon and to get that application in. And I'm sure Pacific Can will be happy to see it. Yeah, so that's about it. Do you have any questions about the actual report, the statistics?
You can put the motion on the table.
Yes, I am going to. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
So what we'll do is we'll put the motion forward and then discuss. So who would like to put that forward? Councillor Lightfoot, seconded.
I'll second.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle. Now, any questions or comments? Councillor Lightfoot.
I just had one question on the attachment.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering where 179 Main Street.
That's the former Rest Inn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the address, the parcels were consolidated, and that's the new address.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Michelle?
Would we be able to get a copy of the modular
Yeah,
handout? I've had people ask and it'd
Yeah.
be nice to,
we just
thank you.
not to give you too much information, there's a question about permanent foundations that we might bring a report back to you
Yeah.
about. Whether there are other options that other communities can consider, and I just need to have a conversation with a building official. So you may see something.
Other questions? Councillor?
Thank you. Just something caught my eye around the Pacific and application for the village office. Just wondering, are we supposed to get that in before you start building? And is any of our funding contingent on that? Like, are we depending on that Pacific can money as part of our budget for this build, or is it something?
We did have a lot of discussions with them. The challenge is the challenge was that we didn't have details on the exact cost. So until you hire the contractor, they've got it all bulked. So now we're going through and getting what is fire resilience, what is fit up, and what is net zero. And those are non-repayable grants. So they're a bonus per se. And so we're just working with that information right now to get it in. I was doing it before, and then I kept coming up to a point saying, I don't have this details yet. So because the contractor doesn't bid saying, oh, well, that's hardy board siding and that's this much more expensive than another. So we're doing that process right now.
I know that working Pacific can isn't always.
So to follow up, you're saying that it's within our budget to build the building without the grant, but if we get the grant, it's a bonus.
CEO may want to, or the CFO may want to clarify that.
Yeah.
But that's my understanding.
Yeah, that is correct. We weren't counting on getting this. It'll be a bonus. And Carolyn, we can add the solar panels in too.
Yes.
Yes,
That's the net zero.
that's great.
Yeah,
Good. Thank you. All right, if there are no other questions, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, now on to the OCP update. This is regarding the presentation that we had, I think, at the last council meeting from the University of the Fraser Valley. Carolyn.
Thank you. I will say that there was a bit of a buzz at the planning conference because two of the students were there, and it's always good. We actually have had our MP's office call us about this work as well. I think it's MP. Or the MLA. Yeah, I think it's MP. Yeah, so anyways, I just thought for procedural, it's important to receive these reports. The University of Fraser Valley practicum was a small honorarium, and we wanted to look at what would attract people from younger demographic to move to Lytton from outside. And we are doing the young adult survey because we also did not have the turnout that we had wanted in the community conversation. So we're sort of catching up. And this actually is a good to help us do the survey is understanding the younger demographic, particularly for me. So we'll be one is the strategic directions, which was drawn on key themes. So that report. The other one is a literature review, and I highly recommend you look at those links. I did go to a lot of the articles they researched, and they were really interesting, actually. And they've gone, international with them. And then and then the outreach report, and that also I found was nice reading and interesting. They also did mock staff reports more, I think, for their learning. I didn't evaluate them, but or you could, but they're just there for their experience. So this is really for your receipt. I did note that I didn't change some of the documents. They a good example is the surrounding communities, primarily, they focus on Lytton First Nation. And I made the comment that it's not just Lytton First Nation, it's all the Inkla communities, as well as the regional district. And also, there was some about how much the village basically a child of the provincial government, an entity under the provincial government can do. So in that, and we'll have more, I am meeting with them tomorrow, so that is something just to talk to and keeping the learning going. But I was really pleased with the work, and they really were on a short timeline. So
Good. Yeah. Right. So you provided feedback to them, but the report we see is their
report. Yeah.
All right. So we just have the motion to receive this report. Councillor Lightfoot seconded. Councillor McCann. Are there any thoughts, comments? Yeah, for Councillor Thompson. Councillor.
First of all, my understanding then is as a report, this will go onto the village website like all the other reports do. Okay, so there might be some little caveats you might want to add, like you're saying, because when I read through, I thought their understanding of Pacifican and my understanding of Pacifican were a little bit different. Like from the way this report reads, anybody building a house can apply to Pacifican and they can get a grant. And that just is not true. So I wouldn't want that kind of misunderstanding to be perpetuated and carried forward. So that I think would be something I would definitely ask that we kind of make clear that they maybe didn't quite get it when somebody explained that to them. So that was one thing. The other thing is just, I am so impressed with the amount of work done. I read the whole flipping thing. I can't believe I did. I read the whole thing. And just the process that they went through and the amount of learning that they did and how they took that learning and turned that into this for us, I think is really to be commended. So please pass that on to them, that we didn't have the opportunity to see this when they were here talking to us. And you can kind of go hint, hint, wink, wink, and say, if you had got it in earlier, boy, I tell you, we had a really good conversation. But nonetheless, just really well done. And I really appreciate the process, like the fact that they did those little situations and said, what if? And that makes it something anybody can really relate to. And I think, as you're saying, following up with the young people's survey, those key questions are in there now. You can just pull them out and you know what to ask about, right? And to see, I did come away wondering about something and what it was when clearly I'm too old to know about this stuff because it was something I'd never heard.
Third space.
Something about the way you don't use your cars. Yeah. It was like, what is they call that?
Rideshare?
No, I didn't know about rideshare. But this was something different. There's something in there. I kind of, what nurse is that? Maybe I even made a note of it. But yeah, just I have no idea. I'm just too old to even know what these things are. And I don't live in a city, so I really don't know what they are.
Oh, car pop?
Maybe.
That's like a hitchhiking app almost.
Oh.
So say you're driving to the city and you need a ride, you go on car pop and say, oh, Jen's going at this certain time, I'll go with her.
Oh, we do that all the time.
On the night.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah, there are those things like that, right? Just saying, understanding it. Mobility section, clarify that there has been a commuter, yeah, that's another thing. Commuter service available to residents since 2022, provided by the Yellowhead Community Resources, right?
It's suspended.
And yeah, but nonetheless,
It had been,
I think that gives us data
yes.
going forward. Like if we want to look at mobility, like they're recommending we do, we need that data to inform us, because that was a service that was here, that was a collaboration with nonprofit, and it's no longer being used because it never really was used, from what I can understand.
Yeah.
So why it wasn't, it's my question to all of us, right? To try and figure out the answer to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Toss.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I think it was amazing, to Councillor McCann's point, like the amount of work and the time you spent and that Patrick Michelle got involved. It's just an excellent, I'm sure, experience for both the youth and obviously a huge asset to the village. So like Councillor McCann says, we all, I think, agree that it's amazing. But to Councilor McCann's point as well about the Pacifican, like maybe they didn't understand the context. How is this going to be incorporated into our OCP specifically? And will community members have a chance to sort of, I know it's going to be on the website, that's great. So I guess the community members can just come forward and comment on it then, or will there be an OCP meeting where this would be part of it? Or
It's sort of like all consultation and it will all roll in now, just like the young adult survey locally and the students, it will roll in and then we'll have things come out of it. And when if you remember, we were going to do probably a series of bits of the draft to the people. And so we could probably mention if it was informed by something like, placemaking, University of Fraser Valley students said this, placemaking students at the school said this. Like we could have sort of references or where they're, like kind of pop-ups. But yeah, it's a good idea is to see if there's something that was never at the community conversations, for example, and wasn't in that wouldn't be too hard to track either because we've got the minutes from those. Yeah, it's a good point.
yeah, like they didn't mention wind, for example. So it's like, they said heat, but they forgot the wind, and that's obviously a major factor here. So I thought, just that local community knowledge being infused with their report would probably help. But yeah, excellent work. Thank you.
Councillor Lightfoot.
I have to say my favorite part of the report was the mobility part, because since Greyhound shut down in 18 or 19, whenever that was, it has really changed interior communities. There used to be 2 buses going in each direction every day, so you could go to Hope and come back the same day, or Kamloops. And as much as Yellowhead did come forward with an opportunity for people to go get groceries, it was spotty. I found it very difficult to locate who to contact or when their schedule was. And it's not the same as having regular daily route so that visitors can come here or relatives can come here or workers can come here without having to have a vehicle. So, I mean, ideally, it'd be so nice to have a Hope to Kamloops route twice a day. We used to have that. We used to have buses in both directions twice a day and a flag stop for the rail lines up until the late 80s for the train, and 2018, I think, for the bus. So I know that there's a workshop coming up on the 23rd or whatever. Unfortunately, it's the same time as our council meeting that night. So we just got an invitation today. So if anyone wants to register, I think they make the tape available after the event.
Thank you. Question on the report?
Sure. Yeah, no, I just
Comment, sorry.
Yeah, there was a lot to read. And so I just remembered with the staff reports, again, I think that they had mentioned sort of suggested motions. Will we as a council ever have it, I think some of them are really valuable and maybe even actionable or something we might consider. Would that be something that we could look at as a council going forward? Or should we just come back with maybe individually if we have something that pops out?
I think if there's something that pops out, certainly I will be going through them all and vetting them and understanding them and all of that. But if there's something, I think, just like you've all said, you've raised what kind of resonated with you or was unique.
Okay.
I agree. When they first raised mobility, I was like, what? It's a walkable village. And then they told me that half their friends don't have driver's licenses. And I was like, wow, things have changed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Lightfoot.
I just want to echo Councillor McCann's comment that perhaps you want to put a preamble there that given more times, perhaps we could have clarified some things such as the Black Nation as opposed to Lytton First Nation, and the role Pacifican offers to specific people.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll call the question. So all those in favor? Carried. All right, now moving on to 8.3.3, which is the something unexpected, I think, on our agenda, the 40 Main Street proposed DP development permit. Darla.
Yeah, so this is just really, I will say, and I think we're all very excited with the grocery store coming back. Interesting that we did issue a DP back a few years ago, which it had expired. And the only reason I'm bringing it back, even though I know we're doing sort of these volunteer DPs, is it really clarifies the zoning. And so that's why. But then when I was in there, I hate when people do an extension, but things have changed, like their address has changed in their legal description. And I just wanted to clear the Heritage Act. So I have spoken to the applicants just to make sure that we're not trying to pull a fast one or do anything. This is simply just to ensure zoning compliance. There's a funny little clause in the zoning bylaw that I think was part of why they did a DP in the first place. So, yeah. So that's pretty much what it is. It's really just paperwork.
Thank you. We're looking to then approve the extension. So can I have a motion? Councillor Lightfoot, seconded. Councillor McCann, are there any comments or thoughts to share?
Anything we can do to help the grocery store, we will do.
All right, all those in favor? Carried. And we move on to bylaws for adoption, and number 2, and we have discussed them at length, I think, in the last couple of meetings. And so we're looking to adopt the zoning amendment bylaw regarding the 5 Fraser Street. So a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle, seconded Councillor McCann. If there are no further comments, questions, all those in favor? Carried. And on to zoning amendment bylaw regarding the 7th Street. Motion, Councillor McCann, seconded Councillor Lightfoot. And again, if there's no further comments, all those in favor? Carried. All right, we have one item of correspondence. It's a letter from Leonard Eva from a company, I think, called Lytton. Yeah, and they're looking, looking for a request for a letter of interest. I'd like to hear council's thoughts on this. Councillor Lightfoot.
I just felt I didn't have enough information to endorse something. I mean, the concept seems good, but it's very vague.
Any other thoughts or comments from?
That was mine as well. I was looking for an attachment with that described the project, but yeah.
Councillor Toss.
I agree. And thank you. And maybe I might recommend we write a letter to the gentleman if he wishes to provide more information. We might entertain it.
That would be my response to.
Okay, so can we have a motion then to do that? Councillor Toss, your host, and seconded by Councillor McCann.
Sure.
And all those in favor of that? And that is carried. All right. We move on to verbal reports. All right, so I'll begin. On May, let's see, our last council meeting was May 26th. So the following 2 days, 27th and 28th, I attended the out-of-town TNRD board meeting. So every year they go to some other community to hold the board meeting. We traveled to the municipalities of Chase and then to Sun Peaks, where these 2 very different communities were showcased. It was very interesting in Chase to be driven around town in golf carts because they have bylaws allowing that in their downtown. So that was very interesting. But along the way, as we were traveling between these 2 communities, we made a number of stops, including a visit to a new water treatment plant in Pritchard, which is run by the TNRD. And we toured the Interforce sawmill at Adams Lake and witnessed firsthand how close the fire came through that area and how they somehow managed to save that mill. Just amazing. our board meeting was held up in the community center in Sun Peaks. So it was a good couple of days. On Friday, May the 29th, I spent a good part of the day with visitors of the Governor General Canadian Leadership Conference. The 16 or so guests from all across Canada spent a full day in Lytton here, listening and learning. And I noticed that Barbara Roden on the front page of the Ashcraft Journal of last week posted a photo and did a bit of a write-up on that. So nice. And that's it for my report. I will then turn it next to Councillor Toss.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I have nothing to report other than comments, and I'm delighted to see the Legion and my neighbor and the grocery store and some movement. So that's nice. And people putting in turf today and gardening. And yeah, the village is alive.
That's for sure. Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Oh. Somehow when the mayor is away, I got busy. I was really quite glad that I was invited to the dinner with the Governor General's Canadian Leadership Delegation. Those were fascinating people to have conversations with, and as you say, to listen and to learn. And so I really appreciated that opportunity. On the 1st of June, I had a couple of busy days the 1st and 2nd of June because I had to come here first for coffee with the mayor, but I was committed to going to the Battlefield Hall to the service providers session that was happening there. So I kind of split myself for a couple of days there. I did that on the 1st and then again on the 2nd. And the 2nd, I chaired the committee of the whole meeting and then went back to the service providers thing. So I'll say more about that in a minute, but it was a busy couple of days and nonetheless, it all happened. The 4th of June, I went over to LES to attend the N7 open house and Chiakin event at the playground. And it was one of the best windy days we've had in a while. Yeah. And, but everybody had a good time. On the 3rd of June, I had an in-person interview with Jane Bradley from the New York Times regarding wildfire resilience and evolving strategies. She also interviewed other residents over a couple of days here, and she said that her work will be complete sometime in July. So if I hear anything, I'll let you know. June 8th, I came to coffee as the mayor designate, and I must say, several people came in and looked around and said, "What? Denise isn't here?" It's you. It was nice. People popped in. It was good. My comments tonight are that it was a privilege to work alongside the economic service providers for 2 days as they work through a process to determine service delivery and ways to move forward in a collaborative structure to effectively serve the people of this region. I raise my hands in respect to the many dedicated people helping all children, families, youth, and elders as we move forward. It was actually quite a thing to be at. There was over 75 people that are working in this community that went to that session to work together better. That was the whole intention. So I raise my hands to Mona and the rest of the team for doing that work, and it will continue. And it was also really cool to have Rochelle, formerly Curé, be the facilitator. So it was really nice. June 4th was one of our windy days, as I mentioned, but the wind became background to the fun and games hosted by Economic Child and Family Services and in Chiakin at the former LES playground. 2 highlights for me were watching the brave BC Wildfire Service crew members in the dunk tank and watching them help the tiny tots. These little kids were like this tall, and they put on sumo bubbles, and they had to lie down and had to have a big person help them get into the sumo bubble, and then the big person had to stand on their feet so that they could run at each other and bump and then fall. It was hilarious. They had so much fun. Those BC wildfire people are just such wonderful people to have in our community, because there they were helping these little kids out. being in the dunk tank. So I really appreciate the time and effort taken by the organizations to put all that together for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Nothing to report. And Councillor Lightfoot.
Just a couple of things. On the 2nd, I attended the Committee of the Whole. On the 29th, the Governor General Leadership Group dinner. That was really interesting to meet people from all across Canada and get different perspectives. And they were very encouraging to our community and noted our resiliency. And I think they inspired us and we inspired them. It was a really good evening.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 12, other business, and Councillor Tross. So we have.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor, and thank you, staff and council, for allowing this on the agenda. And really, you know, I put so much thought into it, but not, I really haven't sort of whittled down to what exactly I'd like to see. But I think if council would entertain it, I'd like to put it to staff if we could maybe put a motion forward to something to the effect that staff be directed to come back to council with either an HR policy that might incorporate exit interviews, which is consistent with best practice in other communities. And from my understanding, it's typically the CAO and then one member of the management team. So if someone was leaving from finance, then the finance director would accompany the CAO. Or if it was public works, the public works lead would accompany the CAO, that kind of thing. I think consistent with best practice, we should maybe look at something like that. But I think perhaps our staff is the best people to develop that and come back. So if council's willing to, well, I guess I have to put a motion on the table, but to entertain my motion, which is that staff be directed to provide a report on a human resources policy, which may include exit interviews consistent with best practice.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and do we have a seconder? I don't see a seconder.
Okay.
Councillor Toss, yeah.
Well, thank you for letting me have it on the agenda.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask, and maybe our corporate officer, do you know if the village had such a thing before, that HR policy?
I have not seen an HR policy in our policies. I know staff, the CAO might be able to comment to this more, but we have been working on some staffing documents for HR. So, and I think an exit interview document might be in that. So yeah, I'm not sure if Diane wants to comment.
Yeah, we've been working for approximately the last year on a human resources manual. I think my understanding is it looks like the fire, even before the fire, but that the village has always relied on the CUPE agreement to be sort of their HR policies. But we have a number of staff members that aren't covered by the CUPE agreement, so we saw the need to kind of provide guidance to them. And there's things that aren't addressed in the CUPE agreement. So what we've done is we've put together as an HR manual that covers a whole bunch of different things, things around, compensation and vacation time and holidays and all that type of thing. I don't think we've included a specific reference in it to exit interviews, but we do exit interviews. We've just had very few people exit, so there haven't been a lot of exit interviews to occur. Attached to the human resources kind of the employee handbook includes things like a acceptable use of technology policy, a vehicle use policy, a bunch of different things that apply to employees and how they kind of conduct themselves at work at the village. This is all work in progress at this point. We're pretty close. We've been working on it for a while now, but it hasn't been our number one priority. We've been working on it as we kind of have time. We're very close to a final draft on that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lightfoot.
I just wanted to make a comment that I think exit interviews are good in an organization that has a sort of ongoing, stable employment employment group. But given our circumstances, I don't want to direct staff's time to something that maybe isn't important today as it will be in a year or so. And it sounds like they're doing quite a bit of work on it anyway. But really, we're still overstaffed with recovery people. And so a lot of people will just leave because the job is finished or the resources aren't there to continue their employment. But it's encouraging to hear that staff is working on it and that, something will come in the future. I just didn't want to make it a priority at this time because we have a lot on our tables right now.
Thank you. Councillor
Can I
Toss.
just make the comment that I do understand that the village conducted the interviews pre-fire, because I spoke to ex-employees that were interviewed by our CAO at the time of the fire. So I think they did occur, but in any event, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Councillor McCann, did you have a?
I'm
comment?
just curious, sorry, I'm always curious, and that's my cross to bear. I'm curious, Councillor Toss, what is it that's really important to you about this? Because I'm not really getting, for me,
Well,
I
I
don't
think
understand the importance of why this is so important to you. What
I
is
think
it
it's
you're
important
looking
to
for?
any professional organization
Because
because it informs our practice. It informs how we do well, what we exceed in, where we could do better, how they felt in the job, did they feel heard? Did they feel empowered? How did that look to them? And that, I think, makes our work environment in the future a better place for everyone.
And to you, that's a formal thing. And even though it may be happening informally, because I'm guessing it's happening informally anyway, that's what's important to you. You want a formal process that you can point to.
No, I don't think it is happening informally, but I would love to hear a report on, from when something leaves, if they have any outstanding issues that we might improve on with our future employee.
Okay. CAO Monberquette.
I'd just like to add, I think that I think it's important if you want to get feedback from your employees, you don't just do it when they're leaving. You have to have a system that works throughout, and a lot of organizations use employee surveys so that people can make comments anonymously. It can be confidential, so they can say, sort of whatever they want. But I'm always a little bit hesitant to have anything that just happens when they're leaving. So, like, for example, when somebody's leaving and then you offer them a raise to stay. Like, that's a bad practice to do, because if they're worth it, you give it to them while they're working for you. I kind of feel like if we want their input and their feedback, we should be asking them while they're with us, not waiting until they leave. That would be my kind of perspective. I'm not saying that it's bad to do it when they leave, but I think you should be doing it all along.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item number 13, which is a closed meeting. And we do have one item to be discussed, and it's resolution 26093C that council approved a contract for Raven Dunstan as project coordinator, construction administrative assistant, and that council approve enrollment of Raven Dunstan to the Village of Lytton's Association member program with the Municipal Insurance Association of BC, MIABC, and that was carried. All right, so now we will be moving into closed meeting to discuss items under 91G of the Community Charter. And can I please have a motion?
So move.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lightfoot. All those in favor? Carried. And thank you everyone for attending. And I'm going to turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storshika.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. So that concludes the public portion of the regular council meeting for June 9th. We ask that the members of the public and staff exit the meeting as council proceeds to closed. Thank you for joining us, and council, I invite you to take a short recess while I prepare the meeting to close.